Hey guys, what's up? It's Hayes. 2007 Ford Freestar. We're gonna do an air compressor on it. I think I'm in one of those moods today. I don't feel like taking out a fan shroud. There's just too much in the way on this one. Take out the battery, and then you got transmission lines, and you know what? I just don't feel like doing it that way. So what I did is I took off these 3 bolts off the alternator, pulled the alternator out of the way, disconnected the battery, of course, and I said, man, I'm just gonna take out this bracket right here, and there's like 3 bolts. All right, so I just got to get this bolt out of there, and then I should be able to get that air compressor out this way. Let's give that a shot. All right guys, if you decide to do it this way, let me tell you what you're gonna have to do. You're gonna want to get one bolt off, one nut off, right there on that motor mount. Put a jack underneath the engine. Jack up the engine a little bit and you'll be able to get this bolt out. Right there. See if we can get this out of there. There it is. Yeah, that's a lot easier than the, oh yeah, definitely. That's a lot easier than taking out that fan shroud. So we already got the hose off the AC line disconnected. Now all we gotta do is disconnect the wiring connector from the air compressor, and we can pull this bad boy out of there. Yeah, I like it. Guys, that came right out of there. So about 2 or 3 minutes to take this off. Take the pulley off, of course. Take the bracket off, a couple bolts here. You can just pull that right off. Unplug the air compressor. Unplug the air compressor plug and pull it right out like that. And I left these 2 bolts in there because it's going to be hard to you know, to try to stick it in there and then put the bolts in. So leave the bolts in there, drop the new air compressor in there with these 2 bolts in there. Okay, we got some new seals in here. We have PAG oil in it already. It is pre-charged with 3 ounces. I put the bolts back in where they go. Okay, just did the swapperoo. Now I'm going to try to drop it in the hole, down in that hole. It shouldn't be too difficult to do. And I'll put the bolts back in there, and I'll start putting in the bracket on there, the pulley, throw the alternator back on there, and that's it. I know it seems probably like a lot to some people, but I mean, it's like a couple bolts in there, 1 bolt there, and 3 bolts here, and you're done. And put the belt on there. So hopefully I can make this quick and easy. Let's find out. It's like, man, that thing just dropped right in there. I had to have no problems whatsoever. Just dropped it on, and make sure you keep your brackets on there. Okay, now I'm going to put a couple bolts in, and I'm going to mount the air compressor to the motor. So it's a whole minute. So that's good. I was going to remove this line because I wanted some flexibility out of this line. But I said, let me just go ahead and just try to drop it in like I pulled it out. So far, so good. Hey, you know what? I don't know why they say take out this, the radiator fan assembly. Because that looks just like too much work to take that out. You know, I've done a lot of fan assemblies, and that one doesn't look fun at all. But I think this is the easier way because, you know, I'm getting ready to plug it in right now. It didn't take me that long to put in these bolts. It was pretty easy as long as you put those, keep those 2 bolts in the very beginning. I kept this bracket loose for the time being. The one on the top bolt. All right, it has a clip like that on it, by the way. Like that, yes, it does. It goes in like that. With the clip on the front of the motor. Okay, so that's plugged in. Wires are out of the way. Everything's plugged up. Nothing's broken. This is the alternator plug. We'll get that out of the way. Tuck that away. And now all we have to do is get this bracket on here. And there's a very long bolt. Where's that long bolt at? This one right here, I think. Well, all three of them are the same size. So yeah. But one of them you got to jack the motor up, like I said. You got to remove the nut on that motor mount down there on the bottom. And then you can jack the motor up a little bit so you can get clearance so you can pull it out. So not a big deal on that either. All right, you'll notice on the back of the bracket, the triangle bolt hole triangle that fits on the motor. Make sure you don't pinch no wires. Make sure you got this bracket pushed that way so you can get the clearance you need, and it should match. It should match right up. Go ahead and stick your bolts in there. Let's go ahead and get bolts in there first. This bolt goes through the bracket right here and through the other bracket. Okay, that goes like that. Okay, so I can't do this and hold the camera. All right, now notice the little bracket, and the bolt fits through that little bracket, and then it goes on that, and it screws into that. Okay, there's another little bracket down there, so you got to line that up with the hole, and you got this one right here that lines up with that hole. So you do that, and you got 3 bolts to do those with. 3 long bolts. Let's get it. As the next step on the assembly, that turned out was sweet. I mean, I'm gonna do it like this every time on this vehicle. So, because it was actually a lot easier, I think. You know, I've never done. I think it's a lot easier doing it this way. But you guys let me know in the comments if you ever done it this way. This might be the way it's supposed to be removed anyways. I didn't really look at the procedure on AllData or anything. I just said, hey, you know, this looks like it might be a little easier than pulling out that fan shroud like I've seen on them YouTube videos. Especially after inspecting it, and I said, man, that's a lot, you know. Take out the motor mount, that little strut mount, and the wires, and, you know, those hard to get 2 bolts to pull out the fan shroud bolts. So, anyways, this is the way I chose to do it. This might be the correct procedure, like I said. You guys let me know in the comments. But I know one thing, this is, it didn't take me no time to do this. I guess all together it took me, but this time it took me about 1.5 hours. All right, easy peasy, nice and easy. All right, guys, to wrap up this Ford Freestar, make sure you got all your bolts in here. You know, that bolt goes there in case you forgot. Other 2 bolts up there. Make sure the belt's on there. Long extension, 10mm to put the through here, to put the line back on the AC compressor. Make sure you put the bolt back, the nut back on the motor mount, and drop down the engine. What else? Make sure the belt's on there correctly. Make sure you tighten up the pulley that you removed. Make sure all your bolts are tight. That's it, guys. That's a wrap. 2007, 2008, 2009 Windstar, and I don't know what other vehicles, but yeah, that's it. AC compressor, Hayes Mobile Auto Repair, Jackson, Mississippi. Peace. All right, guys, we got a 2016 Silverado. Customer's complaint was she didn't have any brakes. I verified that. She does not have any brakes. It's going straight to the floor. So what do you do when the brakes go all the way to the floor? The first thing that you check is you check your master cylinder. You make sure that you're not, you got fluid in there, and you got some fluid in it. Otherwise, if it gets too low, it's going to start sucking air in the entire system. So this one, we're going to have to bleed the entire system. We're also replacing a caliper, because the reason why it got low is because she's got a leaking okay. The reason why it's low, it was empty because she's got a leaking wheel cylinder caliper on this thing. You see? Well, guys, I just took off the other wheel. It doesn't look like, I think the pads got too low on this, and I might have popped the piston out of it. I don't know. Let's check it out. Yeah, guys, it doesn't look like it has any pad in there. Yeah, it looks like the piston popped out of it. Let's see if I can touch you here for a second. You know, when they get this low, it's automatically replacing caliper anyways. I'm not taking any chances. And the piston looks like it's cocked anyways. And the piston's broken. Look at that. Okay. So that's definitely a new caliper. Like I thought. The brake pad's not even there. It's gone. So she's going to have to get a new rotor, because it chewed up the rotor, and some brake pads on top of that. All right, I might be able to get away with the other side, but yeah, I got to go to the parts store. All right, I know you mechanics know already, but you see that rotor, how thick it is on this side, how thin it is on that side. When you get metal to metal, and you guys know, your customers know that you're grinding, it doesn't take long for the rotor to get really thin and to pop the piston out and then lose your brakes and have an accident and kill yourself or kill somebody else, which is even worse. This is how a rotor is supposed to look, like that. These pads were in there. It's not really necessary to change that caliper. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that or not. Let me see what those are back there. What are these? These are brake pads. The best for big tires. I don't know what the hell this is. It might not be brake pads. Oh man, we got brake pads here. Okay, so we got brake pads. Okay, she didn't tell me we had brake pads already. So good. We got the whole kit. It looks like the right one. So we're good on that. So all I have to do is pick up a rotor. Yeah, I gotta pick up a rotor. So let's go do that. Yeah, looks like we got some torques. We got one torque head on here. All right, what I like to do is put a drop or 2 of Loctite on these bolts. If you do your rotors, just put a little bit of Loctite on them. All right, you put a little Loctite on the caliper bolts too. All right, it's a good idea because you don't want them loosening up and coming out, and then the customer calling you back, hey, I'm hearing a noise. Yeah, because you forgot to tighten up the bolts, or you didn't put Loctite on it and it backed out or something like that. Avoid all problems like that, because if it comebacks, will cost you money. So just put a little Loctite, and it's cheap. All right, so let's get some new hardware in there, and we'll get some pads on there, and we'll bleed the stuff out. All right, and there we have it. New rotors, new caliper. I got the brake line loose, waiting on it for it to drip out. I might have to pump the brakes a couple times. Let's get to the other side. All right, guys, and there we have our drip going on the passenger side where we did everything. It took like 10 minutes for it to start dripping out. Pumped the brake a couple times. This one's dripping a little bit better. We just put pads on this side. We did not put a caliper on that side. So let's put everything back together again, put the tires back on there, and we'll get this thing back on the road. All right, let's check for ABS lights, something like that. I did not push down the pedal yet. I don't see any ABS lights. Okay. There we go. There it is. There it is, baby. All right, she's back in the game. That was it on that one. So yeah, let's get some food, man. I'm hungry. So we did 2 jobs today. We did that AC compressor, and we did this one, and that's all I really want to do today. You know, when you're doing, you know, $300, $400, $500 a day, and there's really, that's all. I'm good with that. I don't have to make no more money than that. Now I could, but you know, that's another story. Then we're talking about trying to find a helper that wants to work. Very hard to do as a mobile tech. Try to find another mechanic to work for you. Very hard to do. But you know what? If I was a rookie and I wanted to be a mechanic and I didn't want to work in the shop, and I knew a good mobile mechanic to teach me stuff, yeah, I'd be on that stick. I'd be on that stick fast and learn as much as you can. But in Jackson, Mississippi, you can't find anyone. I've hired and fired 30 guys in the past 8-9 years. So, and they don't last but, you know, 2 weeks, a month, maybe 3 months. 6 months was my longest. And then he just disappeared. I think he went to Florida. so I don't know. Anyways, just talking stuff. Let's get this thing back together again. I'm ready to go. What? All right, let's do it. Here's a little brake tip. Now, on most calipers, you can get away with just taking off one bolt, and that would be the bottom bolt, okay? You take off the bottom bolt in the caliper. This is just a slide, right? That's just a slide. It goes in and out. So what we can do is once we take one bolt out, you can just flip up the brake pad, the caliper, and you can pop out these brakes. The other side's going to be worse than this side. Let you see how low they are. Okay, so quick and easy, boom, boom, boom. Put some grease on your hardware and reinstall. Been quicker. That would have been more efficient for sure. All right, so this one's been grinding a little bit. So one bolt taken out. All right, it's been rubbing. I'll show you the scarring on the rotor. I'm not changing the rotor Got a little thickness on this one. Alright, and there's the rotor. About the same thickness, a little bit lower. Scraped up a little bit. This is just like one day. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw some pads on there. I'm not gonna change the rotor out because I got plenty of thickness. Now if this one was really super thin and this one was really fat, yeah, definitely change the rotor. I may even get some squeaking out of this. I don't know, I might, it's possible. I may even get some squeaking, but you know, it's my work truck and I'm just gonna go throw it in there like that. Yeah, I'm just gonna throw it in there like that. I'm gonna lube them up and put it together again. I have work to do today, and I might change the rotors next brake job. Yeah, I might do that. All right, just slap some pads on there. We're good to go. So I'll push in the piston right there a little bit, and we get this side done and get the other side done. Let's move on to another vehicle. We got to get this white van done today too. Show you is that one bolt. Once you take them off, you can actually slide this out. So most of them just come right out. So you put a little grease on here too. Every time you do a brake job, put a little grease on there. Spray it down inside the hole right here. Spray inside the hole. Okay, and reinsert so the caliper should move easier. And you work it around a little bit. It's got a little bit of grease in the hole already, but yeah, so you do that. Okay, now I'm gonna push this piston back in the hole. And what I'm going to use is a C-clamp kind of thing. Be good enough. We're gonna find out. Yeah. Put your bolt back in it. Hey, one thing I want to mention, slides are the most neglected item when you're doing a brake job. Doing the slides. Make sure you get some grease up in there. Clean up the shaft. Just clean up the slides, and that way it moved the rotor can float depending on if you're stepping on the brake or not. All right, when you let out the brake, you can float again. That way it can be clearance between the pad and the rotor as you're driving down the road with your foot off the brake. That way it can float, release the pressure, and we can keep a distance. Otherwise, if this slide is stuck, this means this caliper can't move. So even if you let off the brake, you might have pressure on one or both of those pads. It's going to make the inside wear faster than the outside normally. But yeah, so make sure as a mobile tech, you guys do your slides on every brake job.